Okay, so I'm going to put the hood back. Okay. All right. What I'm going to do is, since I know the person that owns this Jeep, they like everything to be as clean and wonderful as possible. So this battery tray needs a little bit of cleaning up. So I'm just going to soak some penetrating oil on the on that bolt hole there, and then these other bolts here, and then I'm just going to hose it off a little bit and let it dry before I put the battery back in, because I just want that hole to be as clean and I don't want there to be any acid on here. If it were mine and I had the time, I'd probably just pop this tray off and put a quick coat of paint on it, but the battery's getting up there in age, so it's probably going to need to be replaced one of these days anyway, so it'll probably be back out before not too terribly long, the battery will. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and just spray some oil on there. PB Blaster works good, WD-40 works good, just whatever. Just spray it on that hole there. You can actually kind of spray the whole tray with it if you wanted, but just spray it on there, spray it around these bolts here. Let it sit for a while, hose it off, and soak them again a little bit, and then put it back together. It's my recommendation. Really don't have to soak them the second time, just put a little bit on there. So, all right, I'm going to finish cleaning this thing up and get to putting the battery back in here. So, stick with me. All right, we're back, and we got the battery and the hold down wedge and the bolt. Cleaned the bolt all up. Like I said, hosed off that battery tray and cleaned it up a little bit, and then just put a little WD-40 on all the holes in the bolts again. Alright, that's the big guy. Again, it's much easier to put the hood up and put this thing in than look. We lost our little paper towel deal there for our positive battery terminal. Okay, now I'm going to go grab my little terminal cleaning tool real quick and put a quick clean on that in the battery. I already hit the battery before I took it off and cleaned it up, cleaned the battery off really good, so it should be good. Just take one of these things here. Okay. All right. Before we put these things on, I guess we don't need to put that. We can put our wedge in there after we get these terminals on here. Make sure we got it in here good. It's not gonna. It can move around a little bit. So we're gonna put the positive on first. And put the negative on. Yep, you can hear her waking up in there, everything clicking. Guess it would be clicking the turn signals on. There you go. What's that clicking noise? Well, that's good that the turn signal's working. At least we know we hooked that back up right. And again, I usually don't, I try to make sure these terminals are as clean and as wonderful as possible so that I don't have to tighten them very tight. Again, this one here, you should wear gloves or be careful because it's so close to the body here. All right. Now we need to put our wedge in. Paper towel holder's blowing all over the place here. Okay. I'm trying to remember which way the wedge goes in. I believe it goes in. There's a lip here. I believe it goes in that way. Yeah, that seems to be the way. And I believe that's a 10 millimeter. Yeah, 10 millimeters for that. Nice long bolt with lots of threads to rust. Alright, and that's about all we need to do there. So, okay, battery's in, tighten, battery hold down, good. Turn signal's in there clicking away, so let's go in there and let me go grab the key and see. I'm not going to start it because we don't have our heater hoses hooked up yet. Actually, so since I'm standing here, let me just go ahead and do that. Let me grab some pliers. Now, there is an appropriate tool for using these kind of clamps. I do not have one. Lots of people do not have one. That's all I'm going to say about that. This little one here goes on the bottom. And again, I had these set up one way. I put the bag and the tape over it to keep it, and that worked okay, but then I lowered the hose and gravity took over and it started siphoning out, and so I had to this is the old hose I'm bending out of the way here. I had to put a pair of vice grips on the hose to pinch it off. But they do make some nice hose blocking off pinching pliers for this kind of stuff. I highly recommend you invest in some of those. Okay. If you can kind of get the clamp on there in the same spot it was in originally, which is always nice, but not necessary. Okay, now I have this little taped up mess here to get rid of. see it. This initially worked fine in a pinch, but it's got enough. I think that's just regular water actually, but okay. Once again, some ideas are better than others. This one was, you know, could have been better, could have been worse. Alright, that one went right up on there. Yeah, I'm going to muscle that clamp on there with my fingers, that's what I'm thinking. You saw that, I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to grab this clamp and whatever. Okay. All right. I think we're good to go there. This hose here is supposed to come up over here like that. Okay, then we got our air conditioning line. This one here, I kind of moved it over here, and I got a paper towel underneath it just because it was dripping just a little bit. It's not, I don't think it's dripping too bad now. So, all right, I'm going to go inside, grab the keys, go inside and see if I've got a, my hands are filthy. Alright, I'm going to go inside and grab the keys and it seems to be running okay, which it would. Okay, just a quick shot here. Alright, just a quick shot here. Do have blower motor. And everything seems to work, so we got to get to getting that air conditioning stuff under the hood taken care of, so that's where we're going, back under the hood. Okay, so we're back here and getting ready to do the air conditioning part under the hood here. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the belt off. Now, this one, the sticker for the belt routing is missing, and they come off quite frequently. So you want to look down in here and either draw yourself a little picture of how the belt goes, or take a couple of pictures of it, or you can get online, you know, and find the diagram and just print it out or look at that. But just an FYI, it's easier to see if you've got the sticker or get the information on how that belt goes on there before you take it off of there. So, and I believe it's just a 1/2 inch breaker bar down here in this tensioner here. So I'm going to go grab one of those and make sure that it fits in there okay, and we'll get the belt off of there. And then after we get the belt off, we're going to break these 2 lines loose over here that are going down to the compressor. So stick with me. Okay, hopefully you can kind of see down in there. That's where that tensioner is. And it's got a square hole in it. And you put a 1/2 inch ratchet, breaker bar, whatever you got that's something similar to that. You just put it in there, and you're going to want to rotate it. You're going to want to pull it towards the driver's side if you're standing in front of it, because that moves the tensioner that way, which takes the tension off the belt. And then once you do that, you just want to take and kind of lift it up off of this alternator pulley here. You can pull it out from under that pulley there too, but okay, and just lift back up on that. You might have to move the fan blades around a little bit. Okay. And what happened was, as I put this on this side of the this side of the radiator hose. So then when I let off on the tension, this thing was hitting the radiator hose, so I need to go at it from this side here. Okay. So now, as I let off the tensioner, this wrench can go further. It's still wanting to hit on this even because that tensioner's got so much on there. But I'm just going to leave it because I really don't see me needing that wrench for anything right away. I think I can just I think I can get this compressor on here and all this stuff done and just leave that where it's at and then come back and finish it up. So that's what I'm going to do with that. So over here we got the belt off of this pulley over here on the power steering pump here, and the compressor's underneath the power steering pump here. Let me zoom out. So yeah, this tensioner has a lot of swing with it there, so when you go to let off, it wants to move that wrench all the way over. And here's the power steering pump, and then down in there is the air conditioning compressor, and those are the two lines we're going to break loose right there. There's 2 or 3 bolts holding that thing on down there. You basically got to wiggle the thing out from underneath. You kind of got to wiggle it out between the engine and the radiator hose. There is how you basically get it out of there from what I've seen in other videos. So got a few bolts and an electrical connector down in there, and alright, I'm going to grab the appropriate sized wrench and break these lines loose and start to loosen some of these other bolts. So stick with me. And while I'm at it and having a conversation, the new AC compressor, it may come with instructions, it might not come with instructions, it might come filled with the proper appropriate oil, and it might not. So you kind of need to do your figuring out on that one. This one here had no instructions with it. I can tell there's oil in it. How much I don't know. So there's so many ounces that are supposed to go into the system. So I'm checking all that out right now. So I know if I'm going to need to add some oil into this compressor or not. So just an FYI on that, and I'll be checking back and making some more comments about that. The compressor comes like this. It comes with this lid on it like this. So they do fill them with oil sometimes. And this one, like I said, it does have oil in it. I just don't know if it's just oil that they put in there, you know, after manufacturing and just kind of run it through there so it's got some in there, or if they actually filled it with the appropriate amount. So, you know, but again, just an FYI on that, and I will get back on the specifics with that. So. Okay, well, how well we're focusing in on that, I'm not sure. But that's right there, you can see I got the socket here on one of those bolts for the lines. One of them was one of the nuts was right there, and the other one's right next to it, as is usually the case with things like that. Let's see, let me make sure I got this in reasonably decent view here, just in case. I don't know if any light would help. I think you can see pretty good what's going on down in there. It was, like I said, that's the AC compressor down here, and this top manifold here, this part here that these lines are bolted to, when you take the compressor off, that's actually got to come off. That's that plate in there, that plate that bolts to the compressor that I just showed you. There's a little manifold part that bolts to that from the old compressor, so make sure you don't just yank your old compressor out and chuck it, because there's a part you need off of it. So with that, okay, that one wasn't too bad. Okay. Fortunately, most of these are not rusted on there or anything, so I've gotten pretty lucky. Oh, right. That one's a little bit trickier to get to. Not a bad idea to use a wobble extension on that one if you got it. And there just went the socket, and of course, as you could hear, it did not fall out onto the ground, so I'm going to have to go fishing for that. Okay, and I don't like leaving stuff like that because then you forget about it. Okay, where did it go? Okay, I see it, but I'm going to need a magnet to get it. You should always keep a telescoping magnet, or 2 or 3, handy. Oh, all part of the deal here. Okay, where was it? Well, I saw it a second ago. There it is. Right up between the engine mount and the block. Oh, don't tell me this magnet's not strong enough. Oh, come on. Well, no, I just pushed it someplace else. Damn it. Once again. Stupid stuff. Oh, man. See, this is what kind of crap that makes you impatient, because you're in the middle of doing something and then you lose a damn socket. Oh, I'm going to have to... I got to get a bigger magnet. Hang on. Alright, I'm going to still try and get this socket out on camera. Oh, God. It went right between the engine mount and the block. Not a good place for it to go. I can kind of see it in there, but I can't get the magnet or anything in there. Oh, man. Son of a gun. Oh, man. Just in a really bad spot. God. Ugh. Oh, honestly, don't ask me why I have the camera on. Once again, this is just real world crap. Oh, Oh man, they really... That has got to be the worst friggin' place to lose a socket ever. Oh man. Oh. Jesus. I'm pretty sure somebody just designed that specifically for that to happen. Holy crap. Oh man. I'm touching it with the magnet and stuff. It's just, man, that is just not a good situation there at all. Son of a bitch. Oh, I got some Slim Jim like material here. I'm going to see if I can fish it out of there. Oh man, I can't believe that happened. Yeah, I can. Oh, there's gotta be a better way to get at that thing. Oh. Alright, I'm just burning film here, so, well, film, whatever. So, I can't get it out of there, so it'll be easier to get at once the compressor's off, because it's between that motor mount and the block right there, so when I get the compressor out of there, I can probably fish something up out of there and get it. It's just not happening the way this is going, so. Okay. We broke these lines loose here, so these are ready to basically come off whenever. And there's a bolt underneath the compressor there that I gotta loosen, so I'm gonna get it together here and figure what other bolts I gotta do so I can get that thing off of there, so I shall return. Okay, so alright. Sometimes I don't know where to start. Because I'm not going to quit thinking about that socket down in there until it's out of there. So that's just going to rule my world until I get that out of there. But we need to pull these lines off here. And you can see they're loose and they're bolted down here. But I don't want to pry them off of there because that manifold, and you know, I thought that's the one we need to reuse. So I'm going to just try and shake and shimmy these things. Okay, there we go. Got that one. Okay. Just want to shake and shimmy them. And then we got a looks like a 5/16 right here. I'm going to grab a socket for that. This will enable us to move these lines around. Taking this clamp off of here. I don't even know if you can see that clamp. It's this one right here, right by this switch, pressure switch here. Take that one out of there. Then kind of got to bend that up a little bit. Kind of take that one out of there. And just kind of, I'm going to close that back up and put this screw in here for right now so we don't lose that. Anytime you can put something back together like that a little bit, it's a big help, because it's just one less part you got to label, one less part you got to worry about losing, and if somebody else comes along and has to fix it or take care of it or do anything with it, it's a lot more obvious to them what's going on. So this line here is unbolted here and pretty much just ready to come off of here. I'm just going to kind of leave it right here just for, got the new line, I already checked the bends, but I'm just kind of going to leave that right there for now. Let's see here. What do we got going on over here? Okay, so this one here, we got to take this switch off of here. Another clip to undo. Imagine that. And they're all a pain in the rear. That one came off pretty good. They either don't come off or they come off and you smash your hand on something when they're coming off. Seems to be the name of that jig. And again, I'm just going to kind of set this up here. This one's still got an old gasket on it here. I think this gasket's still on the compressor there. So yeah, that part's the manifold there, and you want to take that off. So you don't want to pry on those down there. You want to just try and yank them off somehow. So yeah. Okay, and then we've got one of these connectors down here. I'm not sure. This one's got one of those little red clips too, and I'm not sure if the red clip is sometimes, like I said, you have to push these connectors back in, you know, push them in like you're putting them on to be able to move these clips. This clip I'm not having really any luck moving, so yeah, it figures. You can feel it wiggling a little bit in there, but oh, damn those clips. I mean, I really don't know what they were thinking. Just a horrid, horrid, horrid design. Well, I'm gonna have to, jeez, yeah. That one's a real bitch to get to, too. They usually are. It's like if it's got one of those red clips on it, they made it hard to get to. So I'm gonna try and get a little better angle of this. Here, if we can see that thing down in there. Where are we here? I don't even know where the camera's pointing at this point. Yeah. This connector down in here. It's got one of those effing clips on there. I mean, I'm pushing on the connector and it feels like it wants to come off, but it won't because that clip won't release. And it's just, I can feel that clip kind of wiggling back and forth a little bit, but it just doesn't want to move one way or the other. So that's going to be a bear getting that off of there. And you want to get that off of there because you don't want the weight of the compressor yanking on those two little wires, because those wires aren't too heavy. So you kind of want to be careful with that. So that's going to be some fidgeting there. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this for a few and maybe work on it a little off camera, or at least take a break for a few and figure out what I'm going to do after I get that connector off of there. After I get the connector off of there, there's a bolt back up in there that needs to be loosened. And then there's another big one underneath there, and then I think there's maybe one on the back side there too. So stick with me. Just a quick note. I'm going to just take the camera off real quick and just get a nice shot down in here what we're dealing with here. there's the compressor with the manifold off, and there's the wonderful plug there with the red connector on there. And then there's a bolt back up in there. I think maybe you can kind of see it. That needs to come out. And then there's one underneath there, and then there's one on the back side here too that's kind of right like there. I think just maybe a cable's bolted there. No, I think it's maybe bolted to a bracket there too. Anyways, like I said, that socket is back kind of between the mount and the block right here. So once I get that compressor, it's kind of down there. Yeah, it's down between the block and that mount there. So once I get that compressor off of there, I should have a lot better access to trying to get that socket out of there. So hopefully we'll have a win-win situation on that. So basically my big challenge right now is getting that connector off of that, getting that thing unplugged off of there, and getting at the rest of these bolts here. So that's what's next. Okay, so just a quick recap on the where we're at today with this thing. We've got our 1/2-inch breaker bar here down into that tensioner there, and we pulled it towards the driver's side and loosened the belt, and then we let it sit back against this because there's still a lot of tension on that tensioner. So I mean, you could take this thing off and let the wrench come all the way back and take it off, but it's okay with it resting here for now. So we did that. Then we took a 13/16 deep socket and we disconnected these lines here from the compressor down there. And then we lost that 13mm deep socket down between the block and the engine mount, kind of down in there. But we should be able to have a better access to it to get it out of there once we get the compressor out of the way. So there's that. I went and took the nuts from the studs and put them back on there. Again, that manifold there, you want to be careful with it because you got to reuse it on the new compressor. So you don't want to pry the lines off. You want to just pull and shake and jiggle these up off of there. You don't want to pry on that surface there. So we did that, and let's see, we took off this little clamp here too. Right after we broke those lines loose, we loosened this clamp so we could take the lines off. Then I pushed the clamp closed again and put the nut back in there so as not to lose it. Then I went and got another 13mm socket, a shallow socket. And this down here is the bottom bolt for the AC compressor. You'll notice here's the crank pulley, and then there's the bottom of the AC compressor right there, and that's that bolt there. That's a 13mm. That one's on there really tight too. I had to break it off of there. I put this wrench on here like that, and then I had to use this cheater bar on here to break it loose. But there wasn't a lot of room in there, so I kind of had to, you'll kind of have to finagle it around to get some room in there. But that one was on there pretty tight, so that's definitely probably on the list of bolts to soak. So got that one loose. I think it's loose here again. Yeah, it's still pretty tight. Yeah, okay. So that's going to come loose. Okay. But I'm not going to loosen it all the way or take it out yet because I still got to get to that clip on top to remove that electrical clip. And then we got a couple more bolts up there to get to. So this is where we're at for right now. So with that, stick with me. And just to recap once again, the electrical plug that we've got to undo down in there. So I don't even know if that's focusing, but and just to be thorough, while we were doing all that, we also disconnected this plug off of here. We loosened the nuts there, and then jiggled these things loose, and then took this plug off, loosened that clamp, pulled them out, closed the clamp back up, and now we're back to going to be working on that plug there. So just wanted to mention that we undid that little one there. Okay, I don't remember if I came back with the. I'd taken this cover off. I took and I knew there was some oil in this compressor, but I didn't know how much. So I took and dumped as much of it as I could into this cup here, and there was about 3 ounces in there. So there was at least 3 ounces worth of oil in this compressor for sure. So it did not come with any instructions. It didn't say whether it had any oil in it or not. So anyways, I'm going to just go from there. I'm going to go ahead and get this thing mounted and get all this stuff on there. And then once I've done that, we can go over in detail all this stuff about the oil, how much oil, what kind of oil, and all that kind of stuff. Because it's going to turn into a video of its own, I'm sure, just charging this and everything. So anyways, but I did just want to get back and let you know that I did take that cover off. I did dump 3 ounces worth of oil out of it and pour it back in there. So it's at least got that in there. So. And while I'm at it, while I'm standing here, another quick note is it came with this cover. It comes with an extra gasket here. It says, I guess you're probably supposed to use this new gasket. And it comes with these, it uses a number 6 Allen wrench from the Allen. I'm not sure exactly what size, but it's number 6 out of the Allen wrench there. So, and these are on there really good, so you might have to put a little cheater bar on this or maybe try popping it with a hammer a little bit or something. They come loose pretty easy, but they're definitely on there tight. So anyways, just a little extra FYI there. Okay, so boy, I kind of can't believe they put those bolts where they put them, but you've got one down in there that you've got to get. Man, I'm surprised the procedure doesn't call for, I don't know, removing the intake manifold and the exhaust manifold or something, because that's probably how they put it on there at the factory. I mean, maybe not. But it's down in that corner there. I didn't think I was going to get it loose. It's tight, but the problem is you can't get a straight shot on it. And I got it loose. It just snapped. But the problem is, to get at it, I had to use this big, 1/2 inch, because a 3/8 or even my regular 1/2 inch just didn't give me enough torque. And then anytime you've got, this is the socket. It's a the one on the bottom in the front there is a 15 millimeter. The front air compressor or air conditioning compressor bracket down there, or the air conditioning compressor bolt on the bottom. That front one is a 15 millimeter. That one back there is a 14. But anytime you start adding stuff like this, I'm honestly surprised, because this is kind of a cheap. I think I've got a better one somewhere, but this is an El Cheapo universal joint here too. So I was just waiting for this thing to just snap off of there, but the bolt actually gave way. So amazingly, now there's one more. It's back. I still haven't gotten the plug disconnected yet either. That thing's giving me fits. I may have to just cut the wires going to the old compressor and get it out of there, and then deal with that plug. I'm honestly kind of speechless about those red. I mean, that plug isn't, there's nothing wrong with it. It just, those things just kind of seize up in there. I don't really know how else to explain it. Some of the red clips on some of the other things aren't as bad. But boy, some of these, I think it's just the heat. I think the heat kind of, in a way, kind of dries out the plastic, you know what I mean? And then it just doesn't slide back and forth as freely like it's supposed to. But yeah, at any rate, I'll bet you a lot of people end up wrecking the wires and having to put a new end on there. They just end up, I mean, if I had to do that very often, man, I'd be putting a different plug on there, because that's just ridiculous, in my opinion. But again, it's the thing you got to work with on these. That's just the way it is. So I'm working on getting all of the bolts loose, and then I'm going to try the plug again and a couple more little tricks. And if I can't get it, I'm just going to chop the front wires of that plug, go to the compressor, drop the compressor, and then deal with it that way. So again, right in the middle of getting this air conditioning compressor off. So stick with me. Okay, we're back, and had just broke that one bolt loose with this goofy extension set up here, and then I got the other one back there, but I did not have a 15 millimeter open end wrench to get on there. I have metric or standard, but not a. I didn't have a 15. Didn't have anything in the socket, and the socket wrench won't fit in there, so I was able to, I don't know if you can see, I was able to kind of get a crescent wrench in there, on there. You can see down in there. Ouch. Right here. Get a crescent wrench on there. And then I took this extension and was able to feed it down through this hole in the back of the bracket where the power steering pump is, and get that on there, and then give it a good whack with the hammer. So just to kind of take this off of here and give you a close-up, that's if you're absolutely, you know, kind of desperate like I was getting there for just a second, you can see there's the crescent wrench with the extension sitting on it. This thing's probably not focusing very well at all. But anyway, that's what's going on down in there. I don't know if you can see it or not. You can see that extension going down in there and right on the butt of that crescent wrench. And you can kind of see it from this top side here. Here's where I got the extension going. Right down in there, there's a spot between the back of the power steering pump, at least on this one anyways. A little space in there, enough for this. Like I said, it's about a 1 foot 3/8 extension and a 6-inch Craftsman crescent wrench. So anyways, that's how I got that one loose. Those three are a pain. So the one in the back was a 1 foot 3/8 extension with I think a 14 millimeter socket and a 3/8 inch universal joint. That one was a 6-inch crescent wrench with a 3/8 inch extension hit with a hammer going down through the back of the power steering pump bracket there. And then the one on the bottom, I think that's a 15 millimeter. I think that's what that was. And that was using a 3/8 inch ratchet wrench. I can't talk. Ratchet wrench with a cheater bar on it underneath. So that's the three main bolts that hold that thing on there. So still got to get to that plug. I'm going to kind of loosen this pump up some more, and I'm going to try a couple more tricks with that plug. And if that doesn't work, I'm just going to cut the wires, go into the old compressor, and then deal with it after I get it out of there. So those clips on those plugs, man, it's just when you're in the middle of doing all this other stuff and you know what you got to do, and then you got to stop because they're all hard to get to. It's not like any of them are, you know, that you're reaching for all of them. So it's just I don't know. It's what you would say. It's a stupid problem to have, but nevertheless, it is a problem. So we'll just leave it at that. So all right, I'm going to take a break for a few here. I got my radio check in here, local radio check in here, Channel 3 project in a little while. So I'm going to do that and chill for a few, and then start loosening those things really good, and figure out what I'm going to do. If I'm either going to get that plug unhooked, or if I'm going to end up just cutting those wires and getting the compressor out of there. So stick with me. Alright, so after I got this one up in here a little bit loose, boy, these are hard to work on, this air conditioning compressor here. I can't get the damn thing on there now, but I had this little socket wrench on there like this, and I was working back and forth. I don't know why I can't do it now. Oh my God, I'm so tired of sticking my hand down in here. There. You can see that little 1/4-inch socket wrench. Maybe you can see it, probably not. Oh. Anyways, just working that little thing up and down about, 1/4 of a turn at a time. It's got that pretty much backed all the way out, that bolt there. Sorry about the camera shake here. Oh, these long videos are kicking my butt, man. It's just, I try to get as much in here as I can, and they're long, and it's just, what do you do though, right? Like I said, these jobs call for hours worth of work, and you're going to make a half-an-hour video. I mean, you're going to be cutting stuff out that people need to see. So anyways, so basically we've got this thing, all 3 of the bolts that hold this thing on are pretty much loose and about ready to come out. I still haven't got that plug undone yet. That thing is just giving me fits. It makes me feel like there's something like wrong with me mechanically, like that I'm not able to undo it. It drives me crazy. There's one here. This red one right here. Same type of plug. It's up here where I can get to it. Easy to work on, and I can't get it to move either. So it's almost like they use some kind of dissimilar plastic or something, and it just, I don't know. I really don't know. That probably was a Chrysler or a when Jeep merged with whoever they merged with back then, Daimler Chrysler. I don't know. That's just, I don't know. Electrical plugs and clips and stuff on cars have never been, the greatest things in the world. But this stuff here is just, when it means you breaking the plug or screwing the plug up and it backs you up for quite a long time, then it has an effect on the job. So it's just it's very frustrating. So I'm going to go in and do more research on them until I have these plugs figured out one way or the other. There's got to be a trick other than breaking yourself all up to get the damn thing off of there and then ripping the red thing out of there. You'd think there'd be an easier way. But anyways, so that's a recap of today. The thing's ready to come off except for the damn plug. And like I said, if I get pissed, I'm just going to cut the wires, go into the old compressor and take it out of there and deal with it after the fact. So it's looking like that's the road we're headed down. So anyway, stick with me. Okay. And another day, just going to do a quick recap here. We put our 1/2 inch on here, down on the tensioner there, and you got to push it that way, and that loosens it, and then you pull the belt off, and then just bring it that way. You can take this bar off of here, but it's okay if this wrench rests on here. There's not a ton of tension on there, so. But I just decided to leave this wrench on there, because otherwise you're just going to take this off, and there's really no need to do that, so. And then up here, we got this little clamp here that we undid so that we could take the lines off of there, and then I pushed the clamp closed again and put the screw back in there. Then over here, we had to take these air conditioning lines off here. We undid those. There's 2 ports down there. I put the nuts back on the studs that were holding those 2 lines on there. And then we got 3 bolts down in there that we had, excuse me, 2. There's one over there, and then one over there. And the one that's over here, you have to get to that using about a 1-inch, you need a universal joint, a 1/2 inch, the socket's a 1/2 inch drive. I think it's a 14 or 15 millimeter. I'm trying to remember which one it is. And you're going to need about a 1 foot extension, and then a universal joint. And it's just going to be at a really funky angle. I thought I was going to break my universal joint getting it off of there, but I didn't. And then this one over here, I used, you can use some open-end wrenches to get to it. I didn't have the right size open-end wrench. I think that's a 15 millimeter, and I didn't have a 15 open-end. So I put a 6-inch Craftsman crescent wrench on it and got it on there nice and tight down in there. And then I took a 12-inch extension and stuck it down through this little area here behind the power steering pump. Excuse me. And I took the end of that extension and hit it with a hammer really good, going down on the end of that wrench, and that loosened it up down there. And then after that, it was just a little turn here and a little turn there, and then I finally got a 1/4-inch ratchet. I got a 1/4-inch ratchet down in there with, I think I had an extension on the ratchet to put a 1/2-inch socket on there, a 1/2-inch drive, or not 1/2-inch drive, a 3/8-inch drive socket on there. And then I had the 15mm socket on that, and that was able to get that out of there. So anyways, that's kind of where we are now. We're still working on getting that plug off of there. I'm just going to have to cut it or I'm going to break it. Those red clips just really frustrate me because, you know, there's a proper way to do things. It was designed to work a certain way, and just trying to get it off of there, and it's just, you hate to have to break the clip and do the stuff you do to get it off of there. It's frustrating not to be able to get something like that, something little like that, to be able to work right. So that's where we're at with that. And we're going to work on getting the rest of the compressor off of there, and I'm probably just going to end up cutting them wires because I need to get that compressor out of there and get the other one back in there because it's just dragging on. So with that, I shall return. So just an FYI here, this wire on the new one here, it goes down here, and there's this clip here, this little wire loom holder here, and there's one on the old one too, of course. So I'm going to take this off on the old one, and that's going to give me a couple of more inches to kind of help get in there and mess around with that connector. So I'll show you that real quick here in a second. Okay, it's kind of hard to see, but right kind of down where my fingers, right at the end of my finger there's a screw, a Phillips head screw. You can't see it because it's dirty, but it's kind of right up next to this radiator hose. But I can get like a stubby screwdriver in there and get that screw out of there, and that'll give me a couple of more inches of play in this wire here. Even if I decide to cut the dang thing off, I can cut it up a lot further, closer to the clutch right up there, so that would give me a few extra inches of wire to work with. So anyways, okay, that's maybe a little better view there you can kind of see the screwdriver there, and it's right on that little screw right there. So I'll just kind of hold this here, and that screw was in there kind of tight too, so you may want to squirt some penetrating oil on it. And I'm not sure if that hit the ground or not. You still got a socket down in there to get to, so I may spend a day getting all of the tools and nuts and bolts and everything out of here. Ridiculous, but what are you going to do, right? Okay, so that clip is off there. So the clip is still around the wire. Yeah, it really didn't give me that much more to play with, but if I want to cut the wires off, I can cut the wires up a little bit closer. So again, I'm going to do one more little quick research to see if there's any way I can get that. I can't, it won't come off of there. This clip, it won't come off of there. I've tried and tried and tried, and it just, it won't come off of there. So it just won't come off of there. Anyways, so I did it. I cut the wires, going to the compressor, close up to it. So I got a little bit more to play with here, so I can try and get this off of here. I could always just splice these in and wire these to the new compressor too. They're not, these things don't carry much load. They just carry a little bit of current just to keep the clutch engaged. So, but yeah, this will give me a little more chance to. I almost have half a mind to cut it off here too and put a whole different plug on there and then do just a video on that plug and how crappy it is, but I don't really know if I'm going to do that. Anyway, so we've got that off of there, and so the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and get all these bolts out and get the compressor out of there. So we've got this one back here. I'm just going to thread this one out with my fingers. That's the one that was back in that corner there. Then there's this one up here. I might have to put the little wrench on that one again. That one's, because a lot of the weight from the compressor is going to be sitting on this bolt now, so I'm going to have to get my little wrench back out to get at that one. And then the last one's the bottom one, and then we should be able to try and get it out of there. So I will. All right, so hopefully you can see down in there. To get at that bolt, that's, like I said, there's two bolts. There's one going that way. That's, you're going to have to use a universal joint, a socket, a universal joint, and then an extension. And it's going to be at a wonky angle. I mean, you really need to soak that bolt back there. And if there's any way you can get at it to loosen it or bust it loose with an open end or whatever, you know, you might want to try that. But a universal joint, you know, and a socket and an extension, 3/8 did work. But it was that universal joint was, like I said, at about a 45-degree angle, so I'm surprised I didn't break it. This bolt here, I'm using a 15 millimeter, and I'm using a little adapter. It's a 1/4 inch to 3/8 adapter. It's only about, oh, maybe an inch and a quarter long. On this little Craftsman 1/4 inch ratchet. And I managed to get, like I said, that's not what I loosened it with. I loosened it with the crescent wrench on it and an extension going, you know, down through here and hitting it with a hammer. But this, I can ratchet this back and forth to get it the rest of the way off of there. At least so I can thread it out by hand. I think I got it to where I can thread it out by hand. Feels like it. Of course, you know how that goes. Sometimes you reach in there and you think it's loose enough and then it's not. Or sometimes it's loose enough to get it like a 1/2 or 3/4 of a turn, and then you got to put the wrench on it, which is almost what's going on here. I think I got it. Okay. It's a pretty long one. Okay. Again, these things are all rusted up. It's going to take a lot more work to get them out. You're going to have to keep the wrench on there the whole time. And fortunately, these are pretty clean. So clean them up a little bit, put a little bit of oil on the threads, and wipe them off really good. And before you reinstall them, that way they come apart easy again for the next time. Here's the other one that was in there. This one up in that corner there is a short one. Like I said, they're kind of sitting down in there like this, so got to get this one, you got to get this one. Now I'm going to move the camera here. Actually, I'm just going to pause it and then I'll... Okay, excuse the wind noise. Alright, we're back underneath here again. And looking up there, hopefully you can see our bottom AC compressor bolt there. And I'm going to use this same, I already loosened it quite a few turns, so I'm going to use this same 15 millimeter hooked onto my little 1/4 inch here, ratchet here. Because that'll work good and give me some room under here, so that works okay. I'm going to try and set the camera down. I don't know how much of this it will get. Let me... make sure I zoomed all the way out. Maybe we'll get lucky and get some actual footage in here. This is the last bolt in there, by the way, so which means all the weight of the compressor's on this one, so I'm probably going to have to keep this wrench on there until it's all the way out of there, so And I think you kind of got to pry this compressor off of the block there. So if it's sitting on there, it's threading out pretty good. Feels like I could almost do it by hand. So like I said, this compressor's okay. This compressor's already kind of stuck onto the block right there. So okay. Long bolt there. Might have to move your fan blade out of the way to get this one out here. That one's about a 4.5 inch or so there. So okay, so I don't know how much of that we got or how well, but so there we are. We've got that bolt out there, and the thing should be ready to kind of come out of there. So I'm just going to reach up there holding the camera like this and just kind of see if there's any movement at all with it. Oh yeah, I can move a little bit of movement here. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to pry it. I'm going to stick a screwdriver. Again, I apologize for the camera shake here. I'm going to have to stick a screwdriver up in here and kind of pry this away from the block a little bit. And then I think you're kind of going to have to, you really got to kind of finagle that thing out of there. I think you got to finagle it out on that side, you know, of the axle there, because it's not going to come out through all this front end suspension stuff here. So let me get a different angle here and get a little different position and get set up for this, and we'll go after it again here. Okay, quick note here. Since probably going to be taking the compressor off and dropping it down on the back side of the axle there, there's a wire right there. It's a connector right there. I would take that off. There's a little mounting tab there, and it's got one of those little plastic rivet things going in there. I would take that thing off of there and let that hang down, so that gives you more room to get the compressor out of there, because you don't want to forget about that and have that compressor drop down and end up whacking that wire there. So just a FYI there about that wire. Okay, so the bracket that it was on, I took it off the bracket and pretty much just bent the bracket down, and then I took the rest of the wire and kind of stuffed it up wherever, so that it's out of the way. So compressor's got a pretty straight shot to come down and out from over there, I think. So it's going to be coming around on this side of the axle here, pretty sure. So anyways, I need to see if I can get a smaller something set up for this under here. So okay, so this is the underside on the back side of the axle looking up, so it's definitely going to be coming out this way. So just an FYI. Alright, so I just don't feel like I can get an adequate view of what I'm doing underneath there. I don't have a small tripod set up for this yet, and so I'm just going to try and get some video from the top here of me taking it out through the bottom. Again, it's going to go we can't take it out, straight down through the front, because you got all the suspension parts there in the axle. So it's going to have to go, kind of down and back. So I got this pry bar here, and I'm just going to get underneath there and try and get her out. Okay. All right. Yeah, it's really wedged in there, so you're going to have to do some prying. Okay, I'm going to have to do something else here. This isn't working for me. as to how much easier some of this would be with a lift or not. Maybe this part of it here, but the rest of it not really. It's all on the ground. I mean, even the heater, all that stuff, it would serve you no purpose to have a lift really. So I'm gonna see if I can pry it a little bit from the top here, because it's really hard to get a pry bar in there. It's hard to get a pry bar in anywhere in this thing. For being as easy as it is to work on usually, it's really being a pain in the rear end with this air conditioner. Just gonna get a little medieval on it here, if I can. That definitely did something there. Okay. Let's look underneath here and see where we're at. Oh, I really need to put my gloves on for this. All right. Okay, I think I can finally get a pry bar in here now. Before it was so close to the block, you just really couldn't even get a pry bar in here, but now I think I can get one in here a little bit here. There we go. Okay. It's free from the bracket there, and now we're going to just try to bring it down. Move it past this radiator hose here. Alright, I gotta reposition myself under here so I can see how it needs to come out. Oh man. Oh my goodness. Ouch! You've got to be kidding me. Oh, shit. I think you take it out through the back. I'm taking it out through the back right now, doing this. Son of a bitch. Oh, mother. Well, it can't come out that way. It has to come out through the back. So I'm not sure. You really. Oh, I don't know how to get this thing out of here. Shit. Well, I must have missed something somewhere, man, because between the red clip on the frickin' plug and this, it's just serious. It will not come out through the freaking front. And you can't lift it out of there. I don't have any room here. It's just the exhaust in the way. I mean, I just... I see no way. No. Down. Probably need to take that manifold off first. It's probably where I screwed myself. Well, I blame myself. I've got so many projects going on around here. I've taken on a little bit too much, and I'm just becoming impatient now, and this thing is really pissing me off. You know, like I said, the differences from one vehicle to another, I mean, it's close. It's just like there's a couple little, I don't know if I jack up the end. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't want to come out of there, and it's going to start oil all over the place. Okay, I really need to figure something else out. This is embarrassing, to be honest with you. I mean, seriously. There are times when you have been doing stuff for a long time and you come across these little things that just really, it just, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like you be the world's greatest mechanic and you come across something like this and you start having problems and you just start going like, oh my God, what the hell's the matter with me? But it's just the nature of the beast with this crap. So I will return and see how I don't remember seeing anybody say that I had to take that manifold off before I took it out of there, but maybe. So it came out. I wished I would have had the camera going for that. I noticed that between the axle, the clearance, and the exhaust, and then the oil pan, so I thought, well, it looks like I can jack it up. So I jacked it up a little bit, and about an inch or so, it just it fell out and landed on the cardboard. Literally, just fell out and landed right there on the cardboard. So if you're having that clearance problem where you're trying to get it out from the bottom there and it's not working out for you so well, jack it up a little bit. That'll give you the extra clearance you need between the axle and the oil pan or whatever. I did not remember seeing that in any of the videos. Maybe it was in one of them and I missed it. Maybe it's just this particular vehicle and the suspension, the way it settled. I mean, like I said, it was pretty close. I didn't need much more clearance, obviously. But anyways, so yeah, that thing just done fell out of there. All right. Once again here. So I'm lucky that's all the oil that ended up leaking out of there, so I didn't have too much oil loss, which was good. So, and this thing was all upside down and everything. Like I said, I guess you could take this manifold off of there before you take it off if you got extra, if you have the need to clearance, but that seemed to work okay. So this thing just hit 150,000 miles, and that's the original compressor. So there you go. Alright, we're going to get this thing off of here. We're going to get this in on the workbench, and we'll move this stuff around a little bit, and yeah.